Hello, welcome to Gimme Empathy. This is a podcast about people's lives and values and habits and things. I'm your host, Scott Mercer. Sorry I couldn't put out an episode last week. I reached my monthly upload limit with Libsyn, who hosts the podcast. But we're back this week with another great episode. This one with my friend Angela Hibbard. Ange is the final missing piece in the saga of my old band Go-Go Fish. So we had the drummer Ash in episode 1, guitarist Murray in episode 2, and Ange played the bass. After Go-Go Fish broke up in 2015, Ange moved to Japan to teach English. We got to catch up recently when she was home on a whirlwind tour, seeing her friends and family. And at her suggestion, we even got together and played a totally unrehearsed, totally chaotic secret Go-Go Fish reunion show at a house out at Sunnybank. It was really fun. We hadn't played these songs in 2 years. I hadn't seen Ange since the night of our final gig at the Beetle Bar. And it was really fantastic and really fun, forgetting a lot of the words. And we pulled out a few impromptu Split Ends covers, and a couple of our close friends of the band came to share it with us. It was really, really great. And also quite surreal to be playing those songs again. In this chat, we talk about Ange's job as a teacher in Japan, then the whole Japanese education system and a few interesting parts of the Japanese language. We also talk about her truly bizarre second job that she has on Japanese television, her filmmaking aspirations, her future plans, the new band that she's formed over in Japan. And at the end of the episode, she plays us a little song. I myself am doing good this week. I'm feeling good. End of financial year has passed and my hours at work have been reduced, which is something that's really good. Everything's back to normal again. I got to leave an hour earlier from work today, and it felt like I was doing something naughty, leaving while the sun was still that high. It was like when you were in school and you had like a dentist appointment and you had to, even though you had permission from the teacher, you had to put up your hand and walk through the rest of the empty school while everyone else was still in class. And they're like, oh, is that kid in trouble? But no, like everything was in order. You had a note from your parents who were going out to meet your mum by the car, but you still felt wrong going past all those other classrooms of kids doing their multiplication and colouring in maps of the world and shit. And apparently that's a feeling that doesn't go away when you're an adult and something different about your routine changes. But it's really good. I was probably around the last time when I put the last episode up, was going through a bit of a rough patch, but I'm feeling a lot better now. Played a gig with the band I'm in, We All Want To, that went really well. It was really fun. And yeah, now I won't have to work as much from now on, so I'll have more time to record stuff for your listening pleasure / tolerance. All right, let's start the episode. This is my talk with my former bass player, Angela Hibbard.
Stop fiddling. Okay.
Good morning, Angela. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Scott.
You've just driven up from the coast this morning.
Yeah. I've driven up from my hometown, Murwillumbah. So my origin story, I guess you could say, is I was born in a tiny town, sort of in a little pocket of an extinct volcano in northern New South Wales. Yeah, no,
Cool.
That's true. Yeah, sort of. So
Wait, isn't this the origin story of Monkey?
Yes. It's funny how those two intersect.
Something.
Yeah. That first egg was named Thought. Tathagata Buddha, the father Buddha, said, "With our thoughts, we make the world."
But so, Ange.
Yes.
How do we know each other?
Well, we were in a fabulous psychedelic experience. Hey, don't look like that. We were in a band together called Go-Go Fish, and you played guitar and sang, and I played bass and sang, and Mari was there, and Ash was there, and sometimes Tara was there, and everyone came to our gigs, and then we all left. We realized that we were too powerful together, so we had to split to 4 quarters of the globe so that, our power could not be used for evil.
That's exactly how it happened.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened, isn't it?
Do you remember when you first joined the band?
I remember Ash sort of calling me up. She'd been bugging me for ages, and she said, "Hey, you know how I've been in this band forever called, I think back then it was called like Scott Mercer and the Cobweb Gallery or something like that."
I'm sad to say you're right.
Yeah.
That was the original terrible first name of the band.
Yeah. And she's she'd occasionally show me these very sort of emotional pictures of you at like Boggo Road Jail, sort of looking up into the distance and things like that. And it was its own thing. And she'd been bugging me for ages, and she said, "Look, I'm in this band. We need a bass player. You should come and audition for us." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, all right." So I then immediately my mind went to imagining what I could do if I was in a band. And so I sort of dug out my bass guitar from its hole. I think at that stage I didn't even have like a case for it. I just had the bass guitar. And well, after that I bought a case. But anyway, I showed up at your sort of basement, your dungeon in your dad's house where you used to live. And I think the first thing I noticed was all of the DVDs.
I had a large bedroom under the house at Dad's that doubled as, so it was my bedroom, it was my study with my computer, it was my lounge room with the TV and all my DVDs.
And there was a pool table.
Well, not in the bedroom.
Not in the bedroom.
In the next room, yes.
But in the next room, yeah.
And we had band practices there as well.
Yeah. So many band practices. That was back when I was playing the keyboard in the band.
Well, yes, I was going to say, do you remember before you even auditioned to play bass, when William, my friend William, was still in the band.
Oh, God, yeah, I remember this. And I came and played violin or something?
You played a bunch of instruments because we rehearsed for months for a special gig we were going to play that was a Joss Whedon tribute.
Oh, God, that's right.
You'd forgotten about that, hadn't you?
I had forgotten about that. That's. I must have wiped it from my memory. Oh, wow.
So this was a gig that was going to be, because at 4ZZZ, this was actually before I was even volunteering there, they used to hold these tribute-orama concerts.
That's right.
Where it would be, so every band would sort of become a tribute act for the day and, play all AC/DC covers or whatever. And so I put in my band, which at the time was me, my friend William, and Ash was playing drums by that point. And my proposal was that we would do Joss Whedon related songs. So mostly songs from the Buffy musical episode, Once More with Feeling, but also like theme from Buffy, theme from Angel, the ballad of Jane Cobb from Firefly, and the theme from Firefly. And we rehearsed for months this entirely new set of really complicated.
Scranton, the man they call Jane.
And like all these Buffy songs had all these incredibly complicated arrangements that were too complicated to be played by a 3-piece. And so Ash was like, I have this friend, she can play anything, she can sing anything. And we're like, all right, well, let's get her in for this gig. And we practiced with you for months. And then the gig fell through.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, no.
It just never ended up happening. And then I think maybe at the end of the year, I think we started looking for a bass player because William left the band and then Ash and I were like, okay, are we just going to continue on as a 2-piece or are we going to get a bass player or what?
I remember you did the 2-piece stuff for a little bit.
Yeah, we played a lot of gigs over a short period, like over a summer. We played a lot, just me and Ash. And then we put an ad in Rave. Murray responded to the ad. And then you came in because you were Ash's friend. Yeah. I think you were the only 2 respondents.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't pick between you, so we got both of you.
That's true. It doesn't say much for yours and Ash's like decision making. It's like there's 2, we need 1. Let's just get both.
Yeah. Okay, the band could have become like a huge psych band. Imagine if 8 people responded.
Oh God, and you couldn't say no to any of them. It's just, yeah. Let's just do like a funkadelic experience.
Now we are the polyphonic spree.
Yes, go fish in the polyphonic spree. Oh, that would have been wonderful. Think about what could have been. Oh.
But so, Angie, you've been living in Japan for the last 2 years.
Indeed, I have.
Since the band broke up.
Bit, yeah.
Now, you're doing something really interesting that I've always kind of wanted to do. And at certain parts in my life where I've been unsure, I've always had this like as a fallback idea, like, oh, maybe I could do this for a bit. And I'm I'm thinking of that again, actually, possibly doing in the near future. But tell us what you do.
Well, at the moment, I have 2 jobs. So my first job, the job that gives me the most money, is I'm the coordinator for an English language kindergarten. And I wrote the curriculum for it. I choose storybooks for it. I chose the textbook for it. I sort of write the schedule for what classes will be taught on what day, and I also teach classes. So the age range of that school is quite young, so 3 years old, and then my oldest student is, I think, 8. So second year elementary in Japan, they don't have primary, they've got elementary, junior high, high school. So the second year of elementary is kind of my oldest student.
And are you teaching English just for all these, or are you teaching other subjects as well?
Well, it is an English school, but within that we kind of it's 21st century learning is kind of the aim of our school. So we do teach things like mathematics in English, so we do addition and subtraction in English. The kids are still learning English, and there is still target vocabulary that they need to learn, but it's more than for example, in the past in Japan, it was very much like a rote learning. You memorize this vocabulary, we test you on this vocabulary, and it's a multiple choice test. Yeah. So you wouldn't need to speak at all. There was no focus on communication or flexibility. It was all just here is a box, tick that box, done. And that's why so many Japanese learners in the past have been, able to read English or able to write English and yet unable to speak it at all. For example, I have many adult students in the past who any English speaker spoke to them and they would just freeze up, because they had never had that practice of speaking English in English classes. It was all just memorization. So the focus of our preschool is getting kids speaking really early. Because at that age, if you think about the capabilities of a 3-year-old, they're not quoting Proust.
They're still shitting themselves.
There is the occasional toilet accident, and you do have to sort of look at them and go, did you toilet? And sort of make sure, look around the room if there's a funny smell and just kind of peek down the back of people's pants, which for an adult would be quite violating. But, for a 3-year-old, it's kind of normal. Just, you smell weird. And there, we do a lot of sounds of English. So not so much words or vocabulary, because you can't do that with a 3-year-old. You can't teach them things like, library, post office, museum, because, maybe they understand what the difference between a library and a museum is in their first language, but maybe they don't.
Because there are some specific sounds to languages that are very difficult to even pronounce if you come up in a totally different cultural environment, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, some sounds in particular that Japanese learners have trouble with are I and E. So, for example, the difference between ship and sheep. To a Japanese speaker, both of those words might be ship, like ship and ship. Yeah, so E they have, like she, but I, the short I sound, is not a sound that they have. Similarly, the U sound, like in cup, so like cup and cap, may end up sounding the same to a Japanese person.
Do they? How well do you speak Japanese?
Mama. I find that conversationally I can manage okay, and like basic reading is okay, but I don't think I will ever be an elite speaker of Japanese, just because there are so many polite forms, and there's everything in Japanese language is about your relationship to the other person. So, the way that you speak to someone would be very different if you're above them, if you're at the same level as them, if you're, a servant serving them, if you're an assistant in a shop. Every word and every sentence will have a different form based on your relationship to the people around you. Like I was thinking earlier, the word child, basic word for child is kodomo, and that's just the basic noun, so one child. And more than one child would be like kodomotachi. It would change if, like, let's say, for example, you have a child and you're off to see a theme park, for example, and I work at this theme park. So in that case, your child would become oko-san. Let's say, for example, you are the lord of a manor and I am your faithful indentured servant. Your child would become, if they're a boy, obochama, or if they're a girl, ojo-sama. So everything in Japanese language, it's all about how you relate to other people or to the people around you. So I think just because there are so many forms of that and I don't have the time to study, I don't think I'll ever be a first grade Japanese speaker. I think I'll just have to muddle through, until the end of time.
Growing up in an English-speaking environment, are there any sounds in the Japanese language that you have difficulty forming?
I used to have real problems with the vowel sound So like we have like oo and but we don't have like that sort of closed off
Usually only if we've suddenly seen something gross. That's the only time we'll make that sound.
What's that? Yeah. What's that on the carpet? Yeah.
But no, it's not in many English words.
It's not in many English words. And if we use it, it'd probably be an exclamation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 5 vowel sounds like a, I, e, o. So like oo often turns into like like ts or m, n. And that kind of, it's I can describe it in terms of like English teaching, like it's higher up in the mouth than an sound, which is sort of lower down in the back of your mouth.
What kind of training did you do before you left Australia to teach English?
Well, before I left Australia, through my university, I did a postgraduate certificate of TESOL, which I found out when I went to Japan that most schools, they don't want English teachers. They want basically performing monkeys who can just regurgitate a lesson for, X number of people in the day. And honestly, the less you think about it, the better. When I was working the job before this job, I worked for a company, which I don't know if I can say their name yet, because they had like a sort of non-disclosure agreement. But basically, they had a lesson structure. And I had to stick to the lesson structure regardless of the needs of my learners, the abilities of my learners. I had to stick to that structure regardless of whether people understood or not. So if someone had no idea, if someone absolutely, like they walked into class and they've said, look, I've done the homework, I've, done this, that and the other, I still have no idea. I couldn't even take like 5 minutes out to explain to them because they had this rigid structure, and you had to get everything done like in a 40-minute lesson. That's why the place that I work now is much easier, because if a child is having trouble, we allow that time in the lesson to just get them comfortable, get them feeling good. And we have a snack time. So, they've had a snack. They're usually keen to sit down and do some colouring. So, that's that flexibility to be able to actually teach is really, it's wonderful,
Did you find it hard to find a school that had that kind of ethos?
I did, many schools in Japan, in the public and private system, they're not so much about teaching as they are about, again, it's going back to the relationships in Japanese, these sort of eikaiwa, so English conversation school teachers are seen as lower down than their customers, their students. So eikaiwa teachers need to affect a certain respect for their students, even if, they don't actually respect them, And yeah, it was hard to find a school.
That sounds like something that you would not deal well with.
No.
With being in a position where it's assumed that you're not as respected as the you don't seem to be a kind of a customer service kind of person.
No.
Especially in an educational setting.
Yeah. If you're a teacher, you're a teacher. You're there to give the student a task and the student is there to complete it. You're not there to make someone feel warm and fuzzy. You're there to be you're there to be the stick and the carrot. You're not there to be someone's mum. And you're not as much as teaching is about making someone feel comfortable, for many students that, are used to, they're like, oh, well, I'm at the top of this food chain. They should be, giving me a certain amount of praise and respect. And, I shouldn't have to do homework. That's not how it works. Homework has a very important role in education, and not all learning is done in the classroom. Always, there's a difference between learning and studying. If you could learn everything through studying, we'd all just be reading books endlessly, and you would understand everything in that book immediately if learning were the same as studying, but it's not, so absolutely I have trouble, with being a customer service representative when I am actually a teacher. And I'm supposed to be, teaching a person something, and if I haven't been able to teach that person something, then I haven't done my job properly.
Was doing all this curriculum development and that kind of thing something you had in mind when you first went to Japan?
It was something I trained to do in my in my postgraduate certificate study. So I had done a subject on curriculum writing and syllabus writing. And I didn't think I would have to do it, so soon. But basically the school that I went to, the lessons varied on which teacher, each teacher had basically look at what students were in the class and go, I guess we can do colours today. And so there was no kind of cohesive system in the whole school. And so now at least we have one style of lesson in the whole school.
Did that frustrate you?
Oh, so much. I'm one of those people that if I see something wrong, I immediately want to solve it. And, if I can't solve it, like there's more than one way to skin a cat. So if I can't solve it like the straightforward way where I am in charge and I will do this and, then I may possibly go, the back way, and I might sort of talk. So the way I did this was I talked to the other senior teacher at the school and I said, what do you think of this system? Like if we replace other people, then we don't know what to teach. If the teacher's not there, then the substitute doesn't know what to teach. And basically the head teacher said, yeah, you're right. We really need one system. And I was like, yeah, I could possibly write that, And then, so once I got the head teacher on my side, like we just had to take it to the boss. And that was another, level of difficulty. Not exactly a boss fight, but, certainly a boss negotiation because she wanted, the flexibility for students to be able to come any day of the week that they wanted to come. And we still have that system now, but at least we have a record of what students have learned on what day so that we're not doubling up on the lessons that we're teaching students.
You said that was the first of your two main jobs. What's your other job?
Oh, my other job is much more interesting. I'm on a TV show. I guess you could say I'm a featured extra. Basically, I stand behind the host as he hosts the show.
What's the show?
Well, the show is called Sekai no Naze o, which basically means why in the world. And it's for the Sony television network in Japan, AXN, and they show a lot of things like CSI on the moon and, Law and Order under the sea and, all those sort of spin-off shows like that. And there's a lot of tropes in those shows that American audiences are very familiar with, but Japanese audiences don't know anything about, so...
Such as?
Oh, well, such as like in a high school, teachers might, for example, sit on their desk, or might get students to stand up in front of class. Like that's not done in Japanese high schools. So that kind of thing, needs to be sort of explained for a Japanese audience. Yeah, or also, I think one we did recently was, why do people run in the rain rather than buying an umbrella? And so we sort of...
Like in big dramatic romantic movies, that kind of thing?
In dramatic romantic movies and also TV shows. Like, for example, if someone finishes work and they're caught in the rain, they might be going straight to their car. So they wouldn't pull an umbrella out. They'd just run like with their, newspaper, like in Rocky Horror Picture Show. They'd just put their newspaper over their head and run because it's basically door to door, You'd go from your work to your car and then, you'd drive home and then you'd go from your car into your house.
So they don't do that in Japan? They always have an umbrella?
Always.
Yeah.
And if they don't have an umbrella with them, they buy one. Because you spend a lot of time in Japan walking to places. There's a lot of incidental exercise, especially if you're going to work, but also to schools because it's part of the law in Japan that children have to walk a certain distance to school. So parents are not allowed to drive and drop them off. They have to walk, yeah. So
even if they live like out in the country?
Yeah, even if they live out in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, like there might be a bus, but the bus will drop them off a certain distance from school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good idea.
It's a really good idea, isn't it? Yeah.
So the show is pointing out these tropes and explaining them to Japanese audiences?
Yes. Yeah, basically. It's sort of looking at the origin in, like, so they have like a couple of members on the panel, and one is like an academic, who specializes in American history. One is like an expert on American television. One is like a gossip columnist. And another is an American. And her name is Katie-chan. But she's not actually, like she was born in Japan. So she speaks perfect Japanese, I'm very jealous. So they sort of, first of all, they would like introduce the trope are, like, for example, jokes, So Japanese don't really tell jokes.
In the sort of, like, there is humour in Japanese culture, but...
There is humour in Japanese culture, but it's very much situational and it's really slapstick as well.
Right, it's not like set up punchline.
No, and there's no such thing as, like, stand-up comedy or, satirical comedy or, deadpan humour. There's nothing like that in Japan, anywhere in general. So one episode, was just, number one, what is a joke? And number two, where can we see jokes? Like, in what television shows would you see people telling jokes? Like, for example, Seinfeld, like he always starts the episodes of Seinfeld with a stand-up set.
And will they show a clip of Seinfeld?
They would probably show like a photo of Seinfeld doing his stand-up. Or like,
I guess to get a clip would be expensive.
Yeah, a clip would be more expensive. And this is a pretty cheap and dodgy show, Not dodgy. No, it's a good show.
So where do you come into it?
So while everyone is talking and, dissecting these tropes, I stand behind the host and I nod.
Are you the only one there? Is it like, or is this
I am the only one there standing behind the host.
What?
Yes. I think it's kind of to add balance to the set because there's like 4 people over here and then there's the host just sitting in his chair and then me standing behind him. And then there's a comedian in the middle with like a little panel saying what the thing of the day, the discussion point of the day is.
Do any of the other panelists have anyone standing behind them?
No. No.
I don't understand. That's like if on Spicks and Specs there was just a random Japanese person standing behind Adam Hills the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah. No, neither did I.
How
when
did
I
you
was
get
first
this
on the
job?
Show. A friend of mine, well, she used to be a producer for Sky Sports in Japan, and I think now she's a producer for Sky News. But anyway, she just basically sent, not even me, but my housemate, a Facebook message and said, "Oh, look, you're white. We want someone to stand in the background of a TV show."
So this was a role they were looking to fill.
This was a role they were looking to fill, and they didn't have that much money to pay at first. The pay has since gone up, which is nice. But they just basically sent my friend a message and said, "Look, do you want to be in a show?" And she said, "Oh, look, I don't have the time, but my housemate has the time." And that was how I got it, and it's been like an ongoing gig for almost a year now.
How long do they tape for each episode?
Each episode, it's about 3 hours of taping time.
And they cut that down to what, half an hour?
They cut that down to like each sort of discussion point is like 7 minutes.
Right.
And then there'll be 3 discussion points in a show.
So, and that whole, for 3 hours, you're standing behind a guy nodding your head.
Yep.
That's all you do.
That's all I do. And then sometimes they've started doing new things where they try American food and then the host gives it a score out of 5. So then when we do that, I get to like score, like and put the scores up on a little scoreboard.
What is your relationship to the rest of the cast on that show? Do they know what you're there for?
They know what I'm there for about as much as I know what I'm there for. Like we all just are, Don't question why we are. We just are. Yeah, but like I am able to kind of like look at the topics of the day that we'll be discussing and then kind of lean over to someone and go, this would be something really interesting to talk about.
Oh, so behind the scenes you offer a bit of advice.
Behind the scenes I offer advice.
Okay, but that's not what you're actually getting paid for.
That's not what I'm being paid for. I'm being paid to stand behind the host and nod.
Where can I find this show?
Well, it's on YouTube, but it's blocked by like region.
I have a VPN.
Yeah. Well, if you've got a VPN, there's one on my Facebook page. I put a clip up a couple of months ago.
We'll have to give a link to people.
We'll have to give a link
afterward.
to people. I'll give you a link.
That is crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, every episode. I think there's like one episode. In the episode about jokes, actually, I told a joke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you want to hear my joke?
Yeah, what's your joke?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
The interrupting cow.
The interrupting...
It's a terrible joke.
That's great.
And when I told it, the host just kind of looked at me and went, "What?" And everyone was looking around at each other like, "What? What?"
Great.
And then Katie Chan then had to explain what interrupting meant.
Oh, okay. Because that's an alien concept in Japan.
That's an alien concept in Japan. Yeah. Like you wouldn't interrupt someone. You know?
I think I would like that. I hate when people interrupt me.
Yeah.
Do you want some more tea?
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you. Yeah.
So, Ange, you were a big consumer of Japanese culture before you went to live there. Like, you're the sort of person, watch a lot of anime, drop Japanese words in conversation. There's a certain Japanophile that exists, I think, in Western culture. Actually living in Japan, what were the biggest culture shock things for you?
Well, I mean, number one, I'd like to say I don't think I watch as much. I don't think I watched as much anime now. I watch a few Japanese movies, but there's still just movies by like my favorite directors, and I am a big fan of Godzilla, of course. But anime I don't really watch anymore. I watch a few like cop shows and the odd sort of drama now. And they do have like, there are really cute like documentaries where they just like follow cats around. And
That's awesome.
I know.
Where can I find these documentaries?
Oh, probably on Netflix. It's like Neko-chan, and like it goes, Cat Island. There's an island in Japan that is just overrun by feral cats.
Oh, yes, I've heard of this place, yes.
Yeah, and
in
basically...
In Vietnam, they have a monkey island that's
Yes.
like that, but with monkeys I've been to.
Yeah. I think in Japan they also have like a fox island.
Oh, I love foxes.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. I went to Fox Village, actually, in Japan, yeah. And the smell was terrible. But anyway, so getting back to your original point, the way that Japan is different from the way it portrays itself in the media is, well, number one, work-life balance. There is none. You basically work until you die or you go off to the suicide forest. Or something that I found out recently is some people, like rather than commit suicide, they just vanish. So like in the middle of the night, a removalist truck will show up at the front of their apartment. They'll basically put all this stuff in there, and with the help of the, Yakuza, they will move to a cheap hotel in a kind of dodgy area and begin like a new life basically off the radar of the government.
What do they do? Are they working for the Yakuza?
They'll probably work for the Yakuza. So they'd probably work in like a Japanese restaurant or a host bar.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
so not like as a gangster,
Not
in
like
a
as a
front
gangster.
business.
Yeah, like as a front of house business.
Wow.
There's a lot of businesses that are owned by Yakuza in various places in Japan. I'm not going to tell you any. You can find them out for yourself. But yeah, that's something that people do because they're so ashamed of failure. And failure is such a big deal that people would rather never see their family again. They would rather leave their life, leave all their friends, leave everything they've built than face the fact that they have failed at something.
Is this still a thing that's going on in the younger generations?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's part of why some people become hikikomori. So hikikomori is basically a word describing like someone who is not in employment, education or training, but also has a kind of like agoraphobia. Basically, they don't want to interact with the outside world.
It's also the title of an album by Brisbane band Hits, which I think is
Is it?
very deliberately chosen.
Yeah. So the album's called Hikikomori?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So do we want to get into one of your prepared topics, Ange?
Oh, you can. One of my prepared topics was film.
Yes, because this is a whole other aspect of your life. You're a filmmaker, and you did a whole film course.
Yeah, I did.
At Griffith, in the film school.
Yeah, many years ago, I did a degree, and it was in film studies. And now I don't work making films, but I do still make films every so often. Yeah.
Well, you directed the music videos we did for Go-Go Fish.
Yes.
So what kind of films are you making these days?
Well, at the moment, like I was sort of making some stuff for a YouTube channel, but then my job kind of, like job gets in the way of hobbies in Japan. And now, like, I just basically, make films to amuse myself at the moment, I've gotten into the habit of more so just writing scripts than actually making actual films, Like I sort of write little stories about, I guess, like Saturday Night Live style sketches and stuff. I seem to write a lot, just kind of off the cuff, like one concept scenes that don't have a basis in a larger story. Yeah.
What's the most recent thing you wrote like that?
The most recent thing I wrote like that, I think I wrote a Crank Yankers style sort of phone conversation about a man being called by the future. And the guy's like, okay, so it's someone from the future, and the the voice is like, no, I am the future. This is I am the indefinable concept of the future. And the guy's like, okay, so what do you want? And the future is like, well, would you like to buy some war bonds? And the guy's like, well, will I need war bonds? And he's like, yeah, eventually. It's like, you can't tell me any more than that. It's like, well, no, I'm the future. You'll find out when you get to it. But, probably when you get there, you will need some war bonds,
Do you have any plans to put these together, get them filmed, do anything with them?
Oh, maybe when I'm in a more stable sort of... My work that gives me money is a little chaotic, and, I have to sort of plan lessons, and, we're just about to have a special, like, summer school thing. And before I came to Australia on my lovely holiday where I haven't done anything, I had to write 6 weeks of, like, specialised individual one-off lessons, that are kind of relevant to summertime, but also like kids will enjoy. So I was writing things like to the moon, and like let's do a week on space, and then like, so okay, well that's lovely. What will they study? So then like you then have to go, okay, well, like one day can be the planets, one day can be stars, one day can be like the history of Earth, one day can be like, I don't know, solar system and stuff.
So do you foresee a time when you go back and put more time into filmmaking?
Yes, I do foresee that happening, but not in the next 10 months.
What happens in 10 months?
Well, what happens in 10 months is my visa expires.
Oh.
So my visa expires, and my apartment is up for renewal. My apartment contract is up for renewal.
Can you / would you renew your work visa in Japan?
At this point in time, I'm thinking no.
Is it an option? Is it fairly easy to do that?
It's an option, but it's an option that would be quite difficult because so I have 2 jobs, and between the 2 of them, I could kind of self-sponsor for a visa. But there's less chance of me, like the last visa I got was a 3-year visa, and that's really comfortable and really nice, and thank you very much. If I self-sponsored, the most I could probably get is 1 year, and then I'd have to keep renewing my visa. And because my visa would only be 1 year, like that limits the kind of phone contracts I could get, it limits the places I could live, Basically, everyone would see, oh, you've only got 1 year visa. Oh, you can't live here then because you're obviously going to leave. So part of it is thinking, well, if people don't want me, well, I don't want to be here anyway, and part of it is me actually thinking, yeah, like I've done this. Not that I'm a person that thinks about job advancement, but I certainly do think about like job satisfaction and fulfillment. And yeah, I know I heard Ash talking about like how she studies to get career advancement. Basically, when you're teaching English in Japan, that's all you will ever be doing. There's very little career advancement.
Well, it seems like in the short time you've been there, you've ploughed your way up as far as you can go, and that you're in charge of the curriculum at this place.
Yeah, exactly. Like so, and that's as far as I am ever going to be able to get if I stay in this industry in Japan. And I kind of want a new experience, but also I've been looking at different things I can do. Like I was actually looking at studying piano tuning.
Piano tuning?
Yeah.
That's a very niche occupation.
It seems niche, but like there are a lot of pianos around still, and there are not a lot of piano tuners. It's not the kind of job where automation will get, will take it over anytime soon.
Well, no more than it already has with electronic keyboards, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. But people will always, I think, love the sound of an acoustic piano, a proper, real piano.
So would you come back to Australia to do that?
Yeah, I would. I'm looking at, there's a course in Melbourne, which is a lot of money, so I have to start saving up right now because I don't have a lot of money.
It seems like one of those things that there's probably like a few dozen piano tuners in all of Australia, like race call announcers. I think there's less than 5 of them in Australia, and they do all the work.
Yeah.
But they're in it for life.
Yeah. No, that's it. You're in it for the long haul if you're a piano tuner. Yeah. So basically, yeah, like my mum's piano tuner wants to retire. But before he retires, he wants to find someone to hand his business over to.
An apprentice.
Yes. Oh my God. So that's basically what I want to do.
And would that kind of job afford you more time to make your own films and stuff?
It would afford me more flexibility. So at the moment, I'm a very creative person, but I work, like when I'm creative in a very haphazard way. So it's really common for me, like when I'm writing a film or when I'm working on a film, I may just be like, oh, I've got to leave in half an hour and do something. Oh, I'll just work on it now a little bit. And then in that half an hour, I'll just get so much done.
That's like the exact opposite of me. If I have a spare half hour, I'll be like, oh no, I can't be bothered starting that thing. I'm going to go have half an hour to work on it, which is, entirely like your way is the right way. I should be thinking like that because I know I would get so much more done.
Yeah. But then equally, like there are other times where I'm like, oh, I have a day off. Oh, I'll just play Fallout, So yeah, as I say, haphazard and not organized. Like I have bursts of massive productivity and then I could just have days where nothing gets done.
What was your other prepared topic?
Well, my other prepared topic was family. But then I did kind of have as a soft third metacognition.
No one's talked about metacognition yet, so maybe let's talk about that first because that interests me. Are there patterns that you find in your thinking? And do you sort of catch yourself thinking in certain ways and thinking, oh, that's weird that I think about that way?
Yeah, I do often catch myself thinking, so I'm a very messy person, and that probably comes out in the way I speak as well because I very rarely finish a sentence, you might notice. I'm trying to finish more sentences.
I think you're pretty articulate.
Yeah, I'm articulate, but within that sort of articulateness, I do kind of make incredibly long sentences and very short sentences, and sometimes I don't even finish sentences, So I'm able to communicate a concept, but not in a proper, grammatic form.
I think most people have that issue.
Yeah, probably, but I feel like often, when I'm not thinking properly about it, here, we're talking, so I'm sort of thinking about what I'm saying, but if I'm just in my house, having a conversation with someone, I may just go, I don't know, and then the sentence will just drift off and I'll be finished.
Right.
So I catch myself in certain sort of habits, like putting things off that for some reason make me anxious.
Are we talking about household things?
Household things.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why, but washing the floor makes me really anxious. And I know it needs to be done, and that just makes me even more anxious. And because I know, when I do it, it'll take a really long time. I have to get in all the corners, because I have, I have this way that I think the floor needs to be washed. And then when I can't do it that way, it really kind of irritates me, and I spend half an hour sort of vacuuming and wiping one corner,
In general, with your housework, are you a bit of a perfectionist?
I am a bit of a perfectionist, especially with washing up. Washing up is kind of my home territory. So when I wash up, I'll put, I've got a Japanese kitchens are very small. And basically I have, my sink, burner and fridge, and they're all against one wall. Then the rest of the room is the living room.
So is there a prep space?
There's a very small bench in between the sink and the burners.
Okay.
And that's my prep space. So when I clean my kitchen, number one, you start with the washing up. So you put the old washing up away, put the dry washing up away. Number two, then you start with the washing up. And then the way that I wash up is quite singular as well. So I like a sponge. I put the detergent on the sponge. Then I rinse the dishes. So I rinse them clean first with water. Mm-hmm. Then I go over them with the suds with soap. So
you don't put the detergent in the water itself?
No.
Okay.
Never do that.
So you apply detergent to each item individually?
Well, I apply detergent to the sponge,
just the sponge,
and then I will get a lather up on the sponge, and then I will sort of wipe down the dishes that I have previously rinsed clean with the water.
Okay, that doesn't sound too weird. Do you have to reapply detergent to the sponge very often?
Not very often, just occasionally. But I need to do it in that order. I can't sort of rinse the dishes and then apply detergent to the sponge. I always need to apply the detergent to the sponge first.
So is this based on a practical idea about how you think things get clean, or is it entirely arbitrary?
I guess those two ideas, to me it's necessary, but to other people it might be arbitrary, but I always my mum does it completely the opposite way. She will have these two sinks filled with water, and the water that she rinses the dishes in will have bits of dirty oil floating on the top and bits of cold breadcrumbs, and I'm just I'm not a germaphobe, but that just kind of looks yucky, doesn't it?
So it's not so much about the end product of how things actually get clean. It's when you're in charge of the process, you have to do it this way.
Yes.
So do you let other people in your house wash the dishes?
I do, but usually if someone comes in and says, "Oh, I'll wash the dishes," I'm like, no, you can do this, or you can do this other job. You can wipe down the table. You can, tidy up the things,
I love how your eyes just flared up when you said, no, no, no. It was kind of scary.
Yeah. I'm in control, I think that's another thing that I've spotted myself doing. Like, I never kind of in the past thought that I would be the kind of person that likes control. But now I'm starting to gradually recognize that I like things done the way that I like them done. And if they're not done the way that I like them done, then I prefer to be in control.
What's changed in your life since you came to that realization? Like, is part of it moving to Japan, living in a small apartment with another person?
Yeah, part of it is kind of coming to Japan. But I mean, I guess part of it is getting older as well, because before I came to Japan, I lived in share houses with, 9, 10, 11 people, some of which spoke English.
And that was an environment in where whatever you did, you were never going to be in charge of all of that.
Exactly. Yeah, you're never, you can kind of be in charge of and in control of the small space where you sleep, but you are never going to be in control of the kitchen or the bathroom, or, you basically just have to adhere to someone else's rules. And if someone else says that they have cleaned the toilet, you would just have to take them at their word and guess that they had cleaned the toilet to a standard which you found acceptable, but maybe it wasn't cleaned maybe they didn't wipe, on the ledge, just behind the toilet, where if someone stands up to pee, they can see all the dust,
But so now that you're just living with one other person, it's just one other, right?
It's just one other person,
Is this just a housemate, or is this your boyfriend?
This is the boyfriend, yeah.
Okay, so there's just one other person, and in that circumstance, one other person is manageable if you want to boss other people around and do things your way.
Yes.
That is achievable, whereas you can't do that with 9 people.
Yes,
So do you think
absolutely.
that's part of it?
I don't know. I think part of me always felt like this.
But you were never free.
But I was never free to kind of dictate how things were done. And now that I have my own apartment and my own space, and someone to boss around in it, I find I quite like it. I like this power. Because always on films, even when I directed the Go Fish, video clips, I felt like I wasn't comfortable in the skin of a director. I wasn't too comfortable bossing people around. I wasn't always comfortable taking charge or, making the hard decisions, because that's when you are a director or when you are in charge, you sometimes just need to be a dictator and say, okay, so this is what's going to happen and this is what we're going to do. There's not all that time for discussion oh, yeah, so maybe we can do it this way, but what do you guys think,
That was kind of how we made the last 2 videos, I think, for Guest List and Graduation Day, which never came out.
Yes.
And they were very improvised, those videos.
Yeah.
It was just the 4 of us getting together on the day, mucking around and having fun.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed making both those videos. But then the 2 before that were much more planned.
Rigid. Yeah.
So for Little Like You, which I think I think that's the one you probably had the most directorial input over. You had everything planned. I think did you even do storyboards and stuff?
Yeah, Tara did storyboards for it. Yeah,
so you and Tara had definitely a vision of what you wanted to do, and we all just showed up kind of hungover and did the things with the puppets. And then with the first one with Volpine,
that was done through my university. So that was done as part of a university course.
And that was a big production on a soundstage. And that was, I guess maybe it kind of felt like was it your second AD who was, she was kind of calling the shots, but that was only because you were in most of the shots. And it was more difficult for you to but it was mostly your concepts.
Yeah.
With the taxidermied animals and all that.
Yeah. There were just a couple of things honestly in that film clip, there's only a couple of things that I would change, and they're really small things. But, like mostly I was happy with it, because I was able to get a say in like the design and the colours of it. That's what was so important to me with like the yellows and the browns and the tans.
Yeah, because we were going for a bit of a 70s washed out sort of thing with our costumes. And
Yeah. And that sort of carried through with like the taxidermied coyotes.
Yes.
And, so a really kind of natural sort of almost New Mexico colour palette, I would almost say. Yeah, tan, a lot of brown, a lot of orange. And then that sort of carried through with the colour grade. So when they were grading the colours at the end, they were kind of like, okay, so what colour do you think speaks to you? And I was just like, orange, immediately. And so that was immediately the end that we pushed it into, and it immediately just clicked because everything was already kind of in that tone. And it really suited the kind of old grey whistle test style of it.
Did it bother you with the last two videos that they were less planned and structured?
If I'm honest, yeah. Yeah, it really, like looking back on it now, it really got to me. And I didn't have like the words to express it,
I feel like you expressed it on the day of shooting graduation day. Like the other three of us would kind of be piss farting around, and you were getting a bit frustrated at times.
Yeah.
I still would love to see that footage though.
I know.
Because we shot some incredible stuff.
I do. I should put it together, shouldn't I? I should do it for you, for this podcast. Do you want me to?
Yeah, if you've got time.
I'll try my very hardest.
Or even just like, if you would be comfortable, just send through the footage and we can hire someone to edit shit together. But I don't know, if you want to do it yourself, that's fine.
I would like to do it myself.
All right.
Yeah.
Whenever you get the time.
Yeah. Oh, because I do feel guilty about it, because everything just... That's the other problem with the way that I work, is kind of sometimes things just get overwhelming. and emotionally I just feel overwhelmed, and then I immediately just like, no, can't deal with this. Nope, Angela out, mic drop, run away to a small cave.
We had a few of those moments in the band, I think. Especially when it became more complicated in that last year when we were two bands. We were Go-Go Fish and the Haymakers.
Yeah. There were some moments, it was fun. It was immense amounts of fun. And, the performing and the recording and the videos, it was all really fun. But I think emotionally, my brain, some people don't react, people react in different ways to emotion. So Murray is a real kind of take it in his stride kind of guy. Ash just goes silent. You can tell when she's upset because she just doesn't say anything. I
think Ash and I are kind of similar in that way. We'll also take it as it comes, but we'll be resenting people for it.
Oh yeah,
if it's not how we want it done.
Yeah. You'll just be sort of silently death staring at people walking around you. Yeah, and whereas me and Bob Hawke, we cry. We're very emotional people. And if I'm not feeling comfortable somewhere, there were a few times usually just before gigs I would get really emotional, and so I would just have to find a little quiet spot and hide somewhere to kind of calm myself down and get myself centered. Often before Go-Go Fish gigs, everyone would be there at the bar, and they'd be sort of getting their gear in, and they'd be talking to all their friends, and and I just found that I couldn't do that. I found that I sort of needed a little quiet, square.
Yeah, I totally get that. I really think that bands should kind of focus more on having a pre-show ritual that they all do together, just a moment where they can be quiet or rev themselves up or whatever they need to do. But it is so difficult, especially at this low level where, if you're the middle act on, you got to get your gear on stage in a hurry, you got to start so the night doesn't drag. It's really
Yeah.
hard to logistically find that kind of moment. But I think it is really important to do, and it's something I really want to do more of, actually.
Yeah. I think, you're so right. Like when, went on one of these little band nights, and I'm sort of, now that I've just started playing with people again, I'm sort of looking down the barrel of doing the same thing again, and being like the middle act in a group of 5 bands, Like I'm not part of me is looking forward to it, and part of me is not looking forward to like the logistics of, particularly in Tokyo, having to carry instruments like on the train for half an hour, and then walk 20 minutes to a bar room in, sort of stepping over vomit and, dodging rats in the streets, Everyone says Japan is so clean. They obviously haven't been to like Shibuya at night, on a Friday night, or Shinjuku on a Saturday night, because there's just... people have lost their noodles, literally. Like, people have just eaten noodles and then walked outside and vomited the noodles up on the street where you're about to step. So that's not very nice.
More tea?
Oh, yeah. Bathroom would be nice, actually.
Oh, sure. It's through the bedroom.
Sorry. I just want to look at everything. I want to touch all the things. Do you ever find that when you go somewhere new that you just find yourself wanting to touch everything?
Touch things? No.
No.
Look at things, sure.
Look at things. Yeah. I guess look at things is part of that. But like with your, Nintendo, what is that game? GameCube, is
yeah,
it?
that's on the bottom shelf of my bookshelf is my Nintendo console museum with the 3 generations: Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and GameCube.
Yeah.
Last console I bought.
That's the last console you bought?
Yeah, I'm a PC gamer now.
That's
when I find time.
Yeah. When you find time, that's it. Yeah.
I want to be like a really old man who just, like, when I retire, I want to just play video games all day.
Oh, come to Japan. Like, there's a big industry, like, old consoles and, like, Dreamcast and,
Yeah, I've seen, like, the shops where they have all those retro games you can still get in pristine condition. Looks amazing.
Yeah.
So, Ange, tell me about the new music projects you're getting involved in Japan.
Yeah, so back when I was in Go-Go Fish, we met... I don't think it's too strong a word to say love. Go-Go Fish fell in love with a band called Library Siesta. And, as much as one band can love another band. So in Library Siesta, there was a guitarist who she wasn't there when we played with them at first in Sydney. And so I didn't get to meet her until I came to Japan, actually. But her
really?
Yeah, really. Yeah, like she and Bree came and stayed with you in Brisbane, but that was after I had left.
Yeah, so they're a Sydney band.
They're a Sydney band, yeah.
We played with them in Sydney one year. Then I think the next time we toured Sydney, we stayed in Bree's apartment.
Yes.
She was very, very generous because there were like 6 of us.
6 of us.
There.
Like, we were like sleeping in a pile like lemmings,
Then after Go-Go Fish broke up, the year after that, I think Library Siesta came to tour Brisbane, and they came and stayed at my place. And actually the weekend before, I had been back down to Sydney and stayed at Bree's place again because I went to RTX AU.
Ah, okay.
And although Bree wasn't there, she was touring in Melbourne. So
so it was just you in her apartment by yourself.
Me and my friend Nick.
Okay, yep. Well, in the new project that I'm working on with Eva, we just come up with the name Little Spiders.
Oh, cool. That's very close to Tiny Spiders.
It's very close to Tiny Spiders, but it's not Tiny Spiders. But if they want to, bring a copyright claim over the name Little Spiders, then I would understand it. But we wanted something that would kind of communicate to a Japanese audience and kind of have a hint of Australianness, but still be relatively non-threatening, and also, just something cute as well.
And what are you going to play in this new band?
So in this new band, I play...
Because you play everything.
I play everything, but in this new band, I'm playing bass and singing lead on some songs. Like, yeah, we do a cover of Kiss from a Rose, which is such a fun song to play. Like, you know, go to karaoke one day and sing it, because it's just immense fun, and you feel like all the world is there with you. I mean, I don't know what the song means at all. The words are just nonsense. You know, the words are just buckets and buckets of nonsense. And I don't know what it means. I don't think anyone knows what it means, but it's evocative.
So is it just you and Ava in the band?
It's me and Eva, and then we have just recently found a drummer called Thasanka, and I hope I got her name right. She's working as a translator, and so I don't want to say too much and jeopardize it, but yeah, like we've just started jamming together, and then we will hopefully play our first gig, you know, touch wood, in October. Play our first gig in Shibuya.
So you've started practicing.
We've started practicing.
One of the things I'm really interested in, I think I've played in, I don't know, 5 or 6 bands at this point. I'm really interested in how the group social dynamic in bands work and how different they are compared to each other. How are you finding the group dynamic in this new band compares to Go-Go Fish and the Haymakers?
Well, I feel like socially in Go-Go Fish, we were all nerds to one extent or another. Like you had, your vintage gaming. I had my modern gaming, you know, with my PlayStations and...
I play modern games.
Yeah, I know you play modern games, just not console
anymore.
games. Yeah.
But you're right, we're all nerdy about stuff. Yeah. Ash has a lot of interests, but whatever they are, she's nerdy about it.
Yes, yeah. Like when she started watching Adventure Time, she then had to watch all of Adventure Time and then start reading about it, you know, like and
even Murray is nerdy about things like country music and
oh, totally. Like start Murray talking about Frank Sinatra, and he's such a nerd, you know, and I think we all had, like you, Murray, and I had that in common, the love of Frank Sinatra.
I'm probably more of a casual fan, but I do really like him.
Yeah.
But I'm not like super familiar with all his, 1940s early recordings or whatever.
No, and all this stuff that he did with the Mob, but
yeah.
Yeah, but I think, like we were all nerdy, and I think in this band, like I am the kind of oddball, like I don't think that's too much to say. I think now that we've been jamming, like that Eva and I have been jamming together for a couple of months now, we've kind of gotten used to each other's personalities, because I find that when I'm nervous, I narrate things in song. So I'm there sort of going, where is the train? Where is the train? There is no train. Where is the train?
I do remember you doing that now.
Yeah. And, I'm having cheese on toast. I'm having cheese on toast. I love it the most, and sort of just making up little songs for whatever I'm doing.
I find people who do that pretty endearing normally.
No.
As long as it's not like constantly.
No, it's pretty constant, It would be endearing if I stopped occasionally for breath. But I've never had to. So.
Is Eva writing the songs?
Yeah, she's writing the songs. Like I've started to attempt to write some songs. Like today, when you said, maybe you could sing a song at the end, I was like, I have a couple of half-finished kind of introspective, weird poetic things, but, like none of which I am game to release into the wild.
Is there a band leader?
I think we've been pretty, because both Eva and I were backing singers in the other bands that we were in. So both of us are pretty much like let's share the responsibility. I know you're thinking, you're looking at me and you're thinking, Angela, you don't like to share.
In your own words.
In my own words, yeah, I don't like to share. But if something is done the right way, then I don't mind, you know. Like, and I do, like, for all that I say I like to control things, you know, I have learned to kind of step back and let people just do what they're going to do for a while. And then later on, I can sort of suggest, you know, actually, maybe you should do it this way. In my own subtle, controlling way. Oh, God, I sound like a terrible person.
So Ava does it the right way most of the time? You don't need to...
Yeah, she does it the right way most of the time.
Oh,
I don't need to say anything. No, she's lovely and she knows exactly what she's doing.
She's an incredible guitarist.
Yeah, she's an incredible guitarist. Yeah. So I, you know, like... Yeah, I basically just watch her go and then I just follow along, you know. I don't even have to be any good. She's just great.
Well, is there a song you'd like to play for us today?
Yeah, so this is the first music video that we ever made in Go-Go Fish, and it's a song called Vulpine, which is Latin for fox.
Like a fox.
Like a fox, yeah. So I don't know if you know this, but foxes have always been very dear to my heart, yeah.
And we got a stuffed fox for the video.
And we got one stuffed fox for the video.
And a stuffed coyote and a...
Many coyotes, yeah.
Was there a wolf there?
There was a small wolf there, yeah. There were 2 boar's heads, and someone brought in an alligator, like a taxidermied alligator as well.
One.
A little one, yeah. And then there was an inflatable giraffe as well.
Oh,
Which I fought so hard for.
Did it have a name?
Oh, Gerald or something. I can't remember.
I think it had a name, yeah.
Yeah. Jerry. Okay, so let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I would be lying if I said I didn't hate it when your boyfriend was around. I would be lying in my bed, waiting for sleep to come and feeling so alone. Boy, stop your lying. You know that she is the one you want. Would you be my girl? I am a little out of it. Would you be my girl? I am a little out of it. Would you be my girl? I am a little out of it. Would you be my girl? La da 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 da. I would be lying if I said I didn't love it when you fought like cats and dogs. Don't leave me hanging. Shut me down or shut me up and take me home. Would you be my girl? I am a little out of it. Would you be my girl? I am a little out of it. Would you be my girl? I am a little out of it. Would you be my girl? La da da my girl? I am a little out of it. Would you be my girl? I am a little out of it. Would you be my girl? La da 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 da.
And it's been great to see you again. I'll
Thank
see you
you.
next
Likewise.
time you're back in the country. Maybe for good next time.
Maybe for good next time. Who knows?
Thanks, dude.
You're welcome.
So there you have it. You can see some of Angie's video work on her YouTube page, Angela Go Fish Reject Hibbard. It's mostly band related. There's some live videos as well as the film clips she shot for us. And of course, you can find Go Fish's extensive discography of 2 EPs and a couple of singles up on Bandcamp. Keep an eye out for Ange and Eva's new band, which has changed its name since we record this interview from Little Spiders to Monobrow. So if Cam and Inez from Brisbane's own band Tiny Spiders are listening, you can call off the lawyers. Monobrow don't actually have any recordings up online yet as of publishing this in early July 2017, but keep an eye out. I'll post a link on the Gimme Empathy Facebook page to a clip of Ange appearing on her Japanese TV show. It is region blocked though, so you'll have to use a VPN and pretend you're in Japan to get around that. If you don't know how to do that, just Google VPN to watch YouTube or something. I'm pretty sure there are some free and fairly simple ways to go about doing that, or call your nearest teenager. Corrections and clarifications corner. We talked a little about Ange's postgraduate certificate of TESOL. In case you're interested, TESOL means Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. TESOL certificate is one of several types of qualifications you can get if you want to teach English overseas. Piano tuners and race callers in Australia. So I guess that there were dozens of piano tuners and fewer than 5 race callers. It was hard to find exact statistics on this, but as near as I can tell, there are more than dozens of piano tuners, but fewer than 1,000. So probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000 piano tuners throughout Australia. And according to my dad, who knows a bit about horse racing, there are probably between 50 and 60 race callers across the country. Thanks for listening to this episode. I would really love to hear some feedback from all you lovely people listening to the podcast. You can give me an email at gimmeempathypodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to have some feedback to read out. That would be really fun. I think I like it when podcasts that I listen to do that. Like us on the Facebook page to keep updated. You can hear me every Saturday on my radio show on 4ZZZ in Brisbane, 102.1 FM if you're in Southeast Queensland, or if you're not, you can stream it online. Just Google Exit Stage Z. That's the name of the show I do, 2 to 4 p.m. And I've just gone on a video binge of watching returning soldiers reuniting with their pet dogs. So I'm going back to doing that and being an emotional wreck for a while, but in a good way. So until next time, stay standing. I'm looking at some mic stands right now.